Hi everyone! Today we are going to talk about tinted graphite pencils, or should I say water-soluble tinted graphite pencils. That's a mouthful though. So there are three brands or kinds that are more predominant on the market and that you can still get your hands on, sort of. I'll explain this sort of in a minute. So the most popular and well-known is the Derwent Graphitint, okay? Made by Derwent. We all know Derwent. So that's one of the most popular and well-known. Another set is Staedtler's Tinted Graphite. Not as popular and also not as well-known. I actually stumbled across these myself by accident. But yeah, and it was all just because I needed to get free shipping on Blick, and I add them to my cart. Then we have the Spectrum Noir ColourTint. These are a little less popular, especially in the US. Now, they are the ones that I'm talking about that are not as easy to get. So their Nature set, which is a set of 12, you can get pretty easy. It's on Blick, it's on Amazon, and all that. But there's actually a primary set, which is another set of 12, making it 24, that you can't get your hands on. It's sold out at the time I filmed this, even from Spectrum Noir, which is also, the website is Crafter's Companion. So that's kind of a bummer because I really want to see what's in that primary set. I'm even scouring eBay to try to get my hands on it. So if you have the primary set and you're willing to part ways with it, or you have found it somewhere I can buy it, shoot me an email. My email address is in my About tab, or just leave a comment below. Okay, so tinted graphite pencils. Well, they're graphite and they're tinted, but they're also water soluble. So you can use them dry or wet. And I really, really want to emphasize dry or wet. A lot of people I see get these assume you have to use them wet. I have had quite a few emails and comments and messages, and I've even had a few private one-on-one lessons, which are offered through my channel memberships, asking how to use these. So, and the biggest thing I have seen is a lot of people are activating them and using them like a watercolor pencil and not using their full potential. These are honestly the most versatile water-soluble medium I have ever seen because they perform so well while wet or dry. And that is what is fun. Now, I had my first experience was with these, the Derwent Graphitint. So here's the Graphitint. It is the traditional Chunky Monkey style Graphitint barrel. It has that color dipped end, and it says Graphitint with a little doodad there letting you know this is water soluble. My next exposure to these lovely things was the Nature set from Spectrum Noir's ColourTint line. And that is this one here. Now these are just as chunky monkey as the Derwent. Something about those pencils made over there in England, I don't know. But it has more of a matte finish. It does have the color dipped end. Okay. And then, like I said, the ones that I found by just a desperation to get free shipping at Blick were the Staedtler. Now these are a lot thinner, definitely thinner compared to the Derwent. See, I mean, look how chunky that is, and then just look at this scrawny little thing next to it. See that? But it's also a hexagon shape. It's not round, but it is dipped. It's just dipped in the same finish as the barrel. Now, Staedtler is actually the one that surprised me the most. And that is because when I swatched these, I got pretty much the results I expected. So when I swatched out the Derwent Graphitint, you know, the colors do pop. I mean, because look, you've got here, let me zoom you in. You know, see these colors? They're kind of, you can see the gray part of the graphite coming through, but then when you activate them, just bam. All right. Same thing with the ColourTint. I mean, you can see the color a little bit more on ColourTint. It's not as grayed out, But there's some with Derwent that aren't super grayed out either, so don't let that fool you. And then when you activate them, holy moly, and look at that. And this is the color pulled off the tip, so it's a lot more concentrated. It has a nice muted, perfect tone for autumn. Now, this one blew me away because not only did it look great dry, but when you activated it, look at that color. So all the other ones kind of just, you know, they were there. But let me show you as an example. We have a blue here, right? Staedtler doesn't have color names, just color, like little codes. So we have the Derwent Graphitint Ocean Blue, and then we have the Staedtler G3. Now, when this is dry, it already looks pretty blue, but this one has a nice blue tinge to the graphite, right? And here it is activated. It's beautiful. I mean, it still explodes with color, but then you look at this one and you are just like, well, holy moly. It's just, whoosh. So, like I said, Staedtler was a pleasant surprise and all out of me just wanting to get free shipping. Okay, so do you need all of these sets? I mean, I have 3 sets. No. The only thing is, you know, with Derwent Graphitint, this is the biggest set on the market today of tinted graphite pencils. Spectrum Noir does have a total of 24, but like I said, that primary set you can't get your hands on. So this is the biggest set, and that I'm going to call it the biggest set till you can get your hands on Spectrum Noir. The color choices are, you know, not very much. It works great for more autumn and fall-like pictures and anything you're okay with it being kind of muted. You get a ton of grays with Derwent as well, so it's like, well, gray, graphite, you kind of feel, Now the Spectrum Noir, this set of nature, as they call it, adds some extra colors that you don't get from the Graphitint. Just a few, like, in shades. So you get a slightly different purple here with the dusty lilac. See? So it kind of adds to this array of purples here. They don't oversaturate this palette with gray. Thank you for that. Because you get seaweed, which is a really nice, good green-brown color. And so it kind of complements here. Earth green is really close to sage. So and then you get this warm gray color. It's got a nice purplish tinge almost to it. So that's a nice addition. And then same thing with the blues. So you've got all these blues up here, right? Heritage is pretty close to Ocean, but this blue one here is a nice little expansion. Now, if you were to buy the tinted graphite from Staedtler, not only are you getting way more vibrant colors, I mean, hello. So obviously these have less graphite, more pigment. You can tell just by swatching them dry. But again, it is still a graphite pencil. You are adding a couple more colors that you honestly want to really round out your set. I mean, look at G5 here. We have nothing like that between the 3 sets, nothing. So you're adding a nice dark, rich green, which you find missing in this one here. Even G1 is a little bit richer than Meadow, so it's adding to it. Same thing with the blues. We have just picked up this really nice dark blue that just goes well with all of these here. And then even this lighter blue, it just pops. But this could make a gradient. Even with the browns, you've added a nice richer brown. This is a nice dark brown. And then purples. Look at this. You get some good purples to pair in here. And even this nice, lovely red color. It's more like a red purple, but you know what I mean. So, do you have to have all of them? No. I had the Graphitint by themselves for a while. I've done pictures with just Graphitint. But when you add these 2 sets, you really expand your possibilities. So next thing I'm going to do is talk about how to use these, because like I said, I get a lot of questions. How do you use them? And I'm just going to do a quick demo. So let me get that set up and we will get started. Okay, So I just grabbed two colors. So I grabbed my G5 from Staedtler and my Moss from ColourTint by Spectrum Noir. I will break out the Graphitint too. So what I like to do is I like to put down a wash of the wet color first. So I'm going to go in with these leaves here. And I'm not really sharpening these because like with most water-soluble mediums, there's really no point. So I'm putting moss up above and our darker color below. Then I'm just going to take a water brush. I'm using the Pentel. Any brush works here. Okay. Like with any water medium, you're going to work your way light to dark. All right, activate that. Look at what a pretty color that is. Let's activate just a couple more for effect and to get my point across. Okay. Ooh, that one squeaks on the paper, doesn't it? Light to dark, and if you're doing a bunch at once, just remember to wipe off your brush in between. Light to dark. Okay, now the boring part. They gotta dry. So while we're waiting for those to dry, I'm gonna grab a Graphitint for you. Okay, so I grabbed Chianti from ColourTint and Autumn Brown from Graphitint. That can get really easy to confuse really fast. I'm gonna put this one down, the Chianti, I don't know, this one. And it's my darker color, so I'm gonna kind of add it in here to shade. Then I'm gonna take my Autumn Brown and pop it in there, okay? Now same thing, we're gonna activate these. Go light to dark. If you have to wipe off in between activating, that's fine too, just so you don't muddle it too much. All right, we'll let that dry for a second. Okay, our leaves over here are still wet, so I'm going to pause and I'll be back when they dry. Okay, I cheated and used my heat tool. I didn't really want to stay here for a half hour waiting for that to dry. You do want these completely dry. So let me zoom you in a little bit more. Okay, so see how these leaves are looking? They're not bad. They look cute just as they are. But say I want to add a little more shading, you know, add some more dimension. I'm just gonna go back in with the dry G5. So that is this color, make sure I'm in the frame, this color while wet, this color while dry. I'm just gonna go back in and shade it up. Again, I haven't even bothered sharpening this because I don't really need to. But see how it's just adding that nice little touch of a little bit more dimension, a little darker shading, just where I want it. Maybe I want to bring it down the center, make the center of that leaf stand out a little more, okay? That's what you're supposed to do with these. You can do your base coat, but then you go back in. Same thing over here. I'm going to take that, whatever we want to call this one, and it looks great. It's awesome, but I'm going to add a little bit more depth. So I'm just going to pop it in here nice and light, deepen up my shadows. You can also do a second coat, so always keep that in mind. You're not limited to a single coat. You could also activate it on the palette. Say I'm feeling like this color is just not dark enough, I can pull it right off the tip as well. So, or if I have a real small area and I just want to be very accurate, see, I can pull it off the tip. Now off the tip, it is going to be very concentrated compared to how it is activated. Always keep that in mind and try not to pull from the tip a ton, just because you're going to you're pulling pigment out of this graphite pencil. So let's do another sample. Let me zoom you back out. Okay, so I grabbed Meadow from Derwent Graphitint. Zoom you back in. We're gonna play around with these little bushes back here. I'm gonna show you how to do this with just one color. So I'm going to pop the dry Graphitint color here in the shadows. Okay. Now this applies to any tinted graphite pencil. You don't have to just use Derwent. You don't have to use just Spectrum Noir. You get the gist. I'm leaving some white space because I'm going to drag for a gradient. So I have my activated water brush with accidentally still some red on it. So that's lesson number 2 hidden in here. Wipe off your brush. So I'm activating it. Look how pretty it is when it's activated, and pulling it up. Activating it and pulling it up. See, so it is a little bit lighter up there. Activating and pulling up. Yes, I'm going to repeat it once more. Activating and pulling up. You're like, wow, I didn't see that coming at all. All right, I'm going to dry this and then I'll show you what we do next. Okay, we are all dry by the power of YouTube pausing and moving quickly. So I'm taking my Meadow again, dry, and I'm just going to go in and add some shading where I want. I want it a little darker in here, so I'm adding it and making it a little darker. Maybe I want that piece up there to be dark too. See, so I'm just accenting with that darker color, but it looks so nice in there, you don't even notice. Another way you could do this is, say I had colored in this grass, I can activate it all and then come back later and just flick some grass pieces in there so that you get that effect. Does that make sense? All right, so Graphitint, Spectrum Noir ColourTint, and Staedtler Tinted Graphite. It's the same process no matter which brand you're using of a graphite pencil. I recommend going in, adding a base coat, coming back in and darkening. Do you have to darken with the same color you did your base coat? No. You can pick from your palette of colors, depending on how many you have, and grab something else to shade with as well. But these are so beautiful. You don't need to go grab your colored pencils. You can do an entire page in just graphite pencils. And you're probably thinking, well, I don't see you coloring a whole page, so how do you do a whole page in tinted graphite? Let me show you. I have one that's still in progress. Now, this one here, you can see already. Check out the barn. I used just one color on the barn, activated it, and then I went back in and added all this shading using the dried graphite. Same with the woodwork down here. I used a light coating of a brown. I even left some white space, dragging the color to create that dimension as I activated it. And then I went back in and added the shading here and there, even in between the planks where it was darker. See all that nice color you get from that? I also did it with the grass. I activated the grass. Let me zoom you in for the grass. I activated the grass, but then see where I've made some flick marks? Now this little stone, well, it's more like a muddy stone pathway. I did the same thing. I had activated one color and then gone in with 2 different dry graphite pencils and added all that shading. So you can create a lot of depth just going wet and then back to dry with tinted graphite, and it's very beautiful. Simple but beautiful. So let me show you one that's actually done. So this one I did when I first got my Derwent Graphitint. So this entire page is only Derwent Graphitint, and this is a perfect example of, no, you don't have to have all of them, but it can be handy. So same thing with this little wooden structure. I used autumn brown. And I also used a little mixture of chestnut in there. And what I did was I just activated them. So you can see kind of like the more brownish ones, those are chestnut. The more reddish is the autumn brown. Activated the whole thing. And then I went back in with the graphite and just shaded in where I needed some, you know, like in some of the wood grain, in between the planks and all that. Same with like her clothes, okay? I had done aubergine for the jacket, and I did just a complete wash all over the jacket. And then I went back in with it, and see I added shading around her hair because there's a shadow. I added the shadows here accentuated some of the lines and folds that are in the jacket. Her jeans, I did, I think it was the shadow color, activated those and then went back in and just shaded it out. Even the metal here, I actually used a combo of 2 of the grays from Derwent Graphitint, and I had done my base coat and then gone in and just shaded it out. Even the puppy in the grass. Basically, where I'm going with this is these are highly versatile for adult coloring. Now, they are more popular in art. I've seen amazing things done with art, but honestly, you're not doing these pencils justice if you're only using them wet. And if you're going back with just regular colored pencils, if that's your preference, that's okay. But if you're just using them thinking they have to be used wet and not going back and shading with them and adding that depth with them, you're actually missing out on a big opportunity with those pencils. They create amazing colors and amazing pictures. Are they more earthy and, you know, more, you get that autumn vibe from them for sure. But now that I have the Staedtler and all these bright and beautiful colors, I'm going to be able to add a lot more color to these types of pages. So bottom line is, this is how I use Graphitint or tinted graphite that is water soluble in my adult coloring. And we've also kind of gone over the ways you can activate it and shade with it, but that's how I use them. And I hope this is kind of helpful and given you some ideas and also shown you the 3 different kinds out there. I will leave links in the description below to all 3 brands here. And like I said, it's up to you. I did that entire page with Derwent Graphitint. However, there are times I'm sitting there like, oh, I could really use another purple up in here, you know? And so I was gifted this set of ColourTint and they really helped. And then when I purchased this, I was like, okay, now I've got endless possibilities. Here we go. You do overlap more with the ColourTint. So if you are looking to buy multiple sets and you want to know where you're going to get most, you know, more bang for your buck, then I would say buy the Derwent Graphitint for sure, because they are one of the best performing. I even did an example here of flicking on top of the activated one. See, there we go. So I'd buy the Derwent Graphitint because you already get 24 colors. They're easy to get, whether you're in the UK or US. And then I would get the Staedtler ones just because of the vibrancy and the addition of colors you get that you don't get here, whereas you have some overlap with the ColourTint. And this only comes in a set of 12, but hey, plenty to work with. And like with any water-soluble pencil, these can be mixed to make additional colors. Mix them on a palette, play around with them, and make up some new colors. You don't feel you have a rich enough brown? Mix it up. You know, the possibilities are endless. But at the end of the day, you're going to get a really unique finish to some really fun pages, and they're just so exciting to work with. So I hope this has helped you like kind of break the barrier and make you less nervous about using tinted graphite. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. And if this was helpful, please hit that like button. That always lets me know that I'm doing content that you guys enjoy so I can keep going with it. Until next time, take care. Bye now.